Bold takes.
If they don't make it to the finals, then this might be one of the biggest L's in NBA history.
Hot topics.
Embiid never had the mentality to win a championship. I don't think he ever will win a championship.
The best analysis.
But Jokic, he might be the best player in the league this season. He really might be the MVP.
This is the Full Court Report.
And we're back.
What it do?
Episode number 21 of this 2024-2025 NBA season. How you fellas doing?
Same old.
Doing pretty well. I actually just got back from doing some pottery painting with my mom and my sister.
There you go.
It's pretty fun.
I hope you made some nice looking pots.
Yeah, we gotta wait a week and a half-ish until we get our final product.
Yeah, we're not all basketball here. We have our artistic side to us, you know. But
Yes,
yeah. This we're in the new year, the first episode of 2025.
yes, sir.
So happy new year. And a lot has happened in the past couple of days. We got some results for the All-Star game. But a big player in the NBA community has made his return to his team, that being Kawhi Leonard. He made his season debut on Saturday against the Atlanta Hawks. Clippers won that game. So I figured we'd just talk about Kawhi and coming back. Obviously, this is, somewhat of a big deal, I think. Still a great player. Obviously has dealt with plenty of injuries. But he's back, and I'm just curious to get your guys' thoughts on what you guys think the Clippers can achieve this season with Kawhi back in the lineup. I feel like they've kind of held their own without him thus far, with James Harden, Norman Powell, etc. But what do you guys think?
Well, currently, at the time we are recording this, the Clippers are 20-15. That is good enough for the 7th seed in the West. But with that being said, the 4 seed and the 10th seed in the West are only 3 games apart. So it's real tight over there out West. Standings are real close. Everybody's all grouped together. But I think with Kawhi in the lineup, the Clippers have one of the deepest rosters in the league. They have a very good mix of veteran experience and young talent. As always, though, with this guy Kawhi, it just depends on how healthy he can stay. The Clippers have 47 games remaining, and if Kawhi can somehow play 40 of those games, I think they can even be a 2 seed out West. But realistically, I think, Kawhi definitely helps. They'll probably end up a 4 or 5 seed, in my opinion. So I think Kawhi being back obviously helps. It would help any team. He could be playing for the Pelicans. They'd still probably make a run for a play-in. So Kawhi's a great player. It just all depends on if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, I agree with everything. I mean, I'm a huge Kawhi Leonard fan. Always have been, besides the injuries and the load management stuff. But with the Clippers currently sitting at the 7th seed, I also said I think they can be a top 4 seed. I don't think they're going to break the top 3. I feel like the Thunder and the Rockets are going to stay top 3, and maybe the Nuggets could sneak in there. Maybe the Grizzlies can stay up top. But I definitely think they should finish top 4 as long as everybody can stay healthy. That's the one thing I'm afraid of, is their injury issues. I feel like it's, you kind of have to hold your breath. They have to make sure Kawhi stays healthy. They got to make sure Harden can stay healthy, come playoff time. So we might see some more load management. We might see them sit, a few games or whatever. But more importantly, I think playoff wise, I think this changes the whole game for the Clippers, because we all know playoff Kawhi just brings it to a different level. So I think they obviously make the playoffs, no issues. I feel like they're going to be a top 4 seed as long as everybody stays healthy. And with that being said, I think they can. I honestly think that they're good enough to make the conference finals.
That's
It's
crazy.
tough. It'll be tough, but I think they could definitely do it. I don't know if they can make the finals, but I can see them making a conference finals, making it interesting.
No, I mean I don't know if I totally agree, but they this is I don't know. To me, the Clippers are a legit playoff team. Come the playoffs, obviously they still have some work to do to get there, but so they're currently the 5th best, or they have the 5th best defensive rating in the NBA. So they've been a very solid defense this season, and that might come to a surprise to some people just because they don't really have like many defensive stoppers in their lineup, right? Like they're playing James Harden, Norman Powell, like Zubats. He's a big, bruising center, but he's not, the rim protector of like a Gobert, Anthony Davis, etc. But I feel like they just are a very active team. Like you said, Justin, they have just a ton of depth on this team. Chris Dunn, who came in over the offseason, has been a really solid pickup for them. Terrence Mann, he actually also made his return. He was out for about a month. And he also came back against the Hawks in that game. So they got a return from him and Kawhi, which was cool to see. Derrick Jones Jr. also came in over as a free agent this offseason. He's been a good player. And they also play Amir Coffey, who, not a huge name, but another guy who provides a lot of valuable minutes for that team. So like you said, Justin, very deep, especially in the wing position, guard position. But I think offensively, I think they're just going to get a lot better. The Clippers, they scored 131 points in that game against the Hawks in Kawhi's, season debut. That was the 2nd highest point total for LA this season. And they also forced 22 Hawks turnovers in that game. So they were just all over the place. And that's kind of, I think, the type of defense that they like to play, kind of just really throw you off guard, very active, playing the passing lanes, just very handsy. And I think that's why they've been such a good defense this year, is just because they're just flying around out there on that end of the floor, which is really fun to watch. But again, I think offensively, they're just going to get a boost with Kawhi. In his season debut, he wasn't really that go-to on-ball scorer like we were so accustomed to. He was kind of getting his shots in like the flow of the offense, right? Like if you never watched the NBA before and you didn't know who Kawhi Leonard was, you'd probably just think he was some role player shooting, corner threes, spotting up, because that's really what he was doing. He wasn't really demanding the ball, but I think as time goes on, he'll probably, get a little bit more comfortable, get his legs under him, etc. So I don't know. I'm definitely intrigued now with him back in the lineup. Obviously, it's a big question mark as if he can stay healthy. But if he is, I'm very intrigued. I think this team is going to make some noise in the playoffs.
I do got to say, just to be consistent, because I said this about the Sixers, but I'm not a huge fan of I shouldn't say fan, but I don't have as much belief when a player, like the star player, comes in the middle of the season. I don't know. I just feel like the past, finals winners we've seen, they've stuck together the entire season. And it's hard to kind of switch gears in the middle of the season after they've already been playing pretty decent. So that is one concern of mine. Not saying like they're going to lose games, but when it comes to playoff time, I feel like that might affect them a little bit. But like I said, I'm a huge Kawhi Leonard fan, so if we get to see healthy Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs, I think they're capable of beating anybody.
Yeah, and you got to remember, Toby, that guy Kawhi's a robot. So he'll probably, once he gets his legs under him, he'll be mid-season form. I'll give him 10 games. He'll be mid-season form.
We'll see.
I mean, his first basket was like a heavily contested 3, like kind of just pull up 3. And I'm like, geez, like, are we serious? Like he's already in that mode. But No, I don't know. I'm excited about this team. But, shout out James Harden. I felt like he deserves a lot of credit. I don't know if you guys said this, but I feel like I remember at the beginning of their season, I was like, I don't believe in this Clippers team at all. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. But they've really, done a very good job this year, James Harden and then Norman Powell as well. I don't know if they're going to be named to the All-Star team, but they're definitely having all-star level seasons, in my opinion. And I think Norman Powell should definitely get some consideration for most improved as well. So shout out this Clippers team, man. Ty Lue, great coach. So it shouldn't really be so much of a shock that they're competitive. But I feel like they're in a really good spot right now with Kawhi coming back.
Facts. And that guy Zubac is a board man. I like that guy. That guy's good.
Yes, sir. Well, yeah, I mean, we'll be watching that Clippers team moving forward. Now Kawhi back in the lineup, but I mentioned All-Star, James Harden, Norman Powell potentially, but we did get our first results of the fan voting for the upcoming All-Star game. Maybe as expected, Jokic and Giannis, they are leading their respective conferences in the first return of fan voting. And for those who, aren't really familiar with how this works, at least for the starters, fan votes, they account for 50% of the vote. And then the players and media, they make up 25% each. So, again, we still have some time until the actual starters are announced. But I'm just curious what you guys think of the voting thus far. If there's any surprises that you saw in the first return, what do you guys think?
I just have a couple quick notes here. I took a peek at the list. Like you said, shout out Norman Powell. He was up there on that list for the Western backcourt. I think it was the backcourt. Shout out Norman Powell. I was surprised that Cam Thomas wasn't in the top 10 for East backcourt, but Jordan Poole was. I don't know why Jordan Poole's getting votes. And I haven't been paying attention the last couple years. I don't know if I've ever paid attention to, the final amount of votes each player gets, but LeBron's only 5th in the All-Star voting, so, I don't know. That kind of hurt a little bit. Guys on the back end of his career getting old. Guy's not getting the same amount of votes as he should. But then other than that, I did vote. It was either Thursday or Friday. They had a triple vote day or something. All your votes counted as triple. So I went ahead and voted for the whole Knicks starting lineup, basically.
Oh my gosh.
But I want the Knicks to have a Atlanta Hawks moment and have 4 guys from the starting lineup in the All-Star team. Back in the day, the Hawks, I don't know what year it was, 2014, 2015, had Jeff Teague, Al Horford, DeMar Carroll, and I think...
Was it Kyle Korver?
Yeah, I think it was Kyle Korver.
Damn.
Maybe it wasn't DeMar Carroll. Maybe it was
Paul Millsap, I think.
Yeah, Paul Millsap.
Millsap.
So, yeah, I would love to see Brunson, McCall, OG, and Cat all make it, but
that ain't happening.
Yeah, I don't think they will. OG maybe might sneak in there, but I don't think McCall's getting in there.
I don't know. You don't think Brunson could be a starter?
When I looked at the list, it said he was 4th in the Eastern backcourt voting, so I don't know. I don't know what that means. He probably won't start, but I'd like to see him start.
We gotta wait for the NBA players to vote and stuff.
He's the best point guard in the East. He's the best guard in the East, so
if you say so.
I mean, go ahead, Toby. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna share my thoughts. So I took a look at the voting results so far. I do have a couple of players on there surprised me, and then a couple players there, it surprised me that they weren't listed on there. So first of all, Wiggins, Andrew Wiggins. I don't know what it is with that guy, but those Golden State fans must love him because that guy gets so much love. He does not deserve to be an All-Star this year. I mean, he's a good player. I think he's averaging like 16 and 6 or something like that, but plays good defense and all that stuff. But he got his shine. He doesn't deserve to be an All-Star.
He's
Not even on the bench. Paolo Banchero. I understand why fans are voting for him. He's a great player, the best player on the Magic and whatnot. But he's been injured all season. He's only played a handful of games, so like, that was surprising to me that the fans recognized how good he was and wanted to see him in there. And keeping in mind Wiggins was voted, I'm surprised there was no Julius Randle in the top 10 listed because he's playing pretty good. I think he's averaging like 21 and 50% shooting. He's averaging like 8 boards a game or something like that. So that was surprising. I thought there would be I don't know, maybe Knicks fans don't like him anymore.
Nope.
But I thought there'd be a lot of influence with that. And then one player I think also deserves to make it is RJ Barrett.
Yes, sir. What up, Toby?
2 ex-Knicks. I feel like RJ Barrett he's kind of been overlooked a little bit because the Raptors are so bad, but he's quietly putting up a really good season. Right now he's averaging 23, 6 and 6 on 46% shooting. And, that's a player I'd like to see make the playoffs. I think he's finally starting to reach his peak. So those were the
great pool, Toby.
Those were the surprises for me.
I like your RJ Barrett. I mean, the Raptors I don't think that's probably the one team we probably haven't talked about like at all this season is the Raptors. But that's a really interesting young team because you obviously have RJ, like you said, but you still have Scotty Barnes, who's already been an all-star, Grady Dick, who's been like, didn't have the best rookie season, but is really coming into his own. They still have Emmanuel Quickley from that same trade. So fun young team. Hopefully they can start winning games. But for me, I think I was a little surprised to see Jalen Brunson at 4th with almost 300,000 less votes than Damian Lillard in 3rd. To me, I feel like, I don't know, he's having one of the best seasons of all the guards, just period. So I was a little shocked to see him so low, especially playing in New York. I felt like he would have a bigger push with like a bigger fan base. And again, you see LaMelo Ball with almost 1 million votes. I feel like he just really connects with like the younger crowd, I guess. Just a fun player to watch. And then I think the Western Conference front court is going to be extremely competitive to see, who can start in that game. Because like you said, you have Jokic, who's the leading vote getter in the Western Conference. But you also have Durant, LeBron, Anthony Davis, who was getting like MVP, consideration at the start of the season, and then Victor Wembanyama. So I don't know. That's going to be a toss-up, and I'm interested to hear what you guys think, who you guys think should be starting for the respective conferences in the East and West.
All right, so out of the East, Justin's not going to like me for this, but I did not start Jalen Brunson.
Oh, man.
I'm keeping LaMelo in there, and I'm pairing him up with Dame for the 2 guards. I just feel like, I don't know, they're like LaMelo especially. He's a player that people want to see. He's flashy. He's exciting. He's perfect for the All-Star game. And then Dame, I feel like he's been doing his thing this year, and he can splash out with threes. At the 3, I have Jason Tatum in the East. I feel like I can't really think of anybody else that would take his spot as far as starting. And then at the 4, I have Giannis. He's, best player in the East so far this year. And then at the 5, I have Karl Anthony Towns. I feel like he deserves it. He's probably the best center in the East, opposed to Embiid, but Embiid's not really playing as much this year. And then for the West, for the guard spots, I have SGA, and I have Steph Curry. This is kind of more so who I think is going to make it rather than who I'd like to see. At the 3, I feel like LeBron is definitely going to start. I feel like even if he averaged 5 points this year, he would probably get that starting spot regardless. I have KD at the 4, and then I have Jokic at the 5. Jokic is, definitely deserves it. But one player I would like to see starting either in the 3 or either replacing LeBron or KD would be Wembanyama.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm at.
No, I mean, I guess I'll start in the West since you were just talking about that. I agree. I think SGA is definitely a starter. And then Steph, just because Luka's dealing with injuries, and the game is also in Golden State this year, I believe. It's in San Francisco, so I feel like he'll probably get like a little hometown boost there. So I think SGA and Steph are going to be the backcourt, at least in the Western Conference. Jokic and LeBron, I think, are also going to be starters. I think Jokic is just undeniable. And then LeBron probably, the fact that he's still, not to say it should really matter, but doing this at 40 years old is insane. And then I think he's played more games than KD at this point. And I'm going to say Wemby is a starter, man. I feel like Wemby's really taken a leap this year. He had an outstanding rookie season, but I really feel like he's a top 5 player, right now, or at least should be starting in the Western Conference. And in the East, I agreed with you with your front court, Toby, with Giannis, Tatum, and Karl-Anthony Towns. But my backcourt is different. I said Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell.
Ooh.
I think Brunson, I just feel like of all the guards, maybe individually, he's having the best season. And I just feel like you have to credit him. Not only that, the Knicks are playing very well. And then Donovan Mitchell, his numbers are down from what I think they're used to be, what we're used to with him. But the Cavs are 30-4. They have the best record in the league. It's hard not to pick a player from that team. And I feel like he's probably the most deserving to start in the East.
Yeah,
I like
so, I mean, if we're being honest, what I think should be the rosters is currently how they're all falling out. All of the, the top 2 for the guards in the East and the West, Shea and Luka, and then LaMelo and Donovan. I feel like that's what it should be. And then same with the front courts, Jokic, KD, LeBron, Giannis, Jason Tatum, and Kat. But what I would like to see is LaMelo at the 1 for the East, Brunson, Giannis, Tatum, and Kat. But then out West, I want to see SGA, Anthony Edwards, KD, Braun, and Wemby. Do not want to see Jokic out there because even when he is out there, he's not going to be trying. So That's basically a wasted pick.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I think Jokic is probably going to get that starting spot, but I know what you mean. He's not. It's fun. It's funny. I think he's such a fun player to watch during the regular season and playoffs, but he just doesn't really stand out in an All-Star game. I feel like because he's not gonna shoot like 15 threes or do any crazy dunks. So
I'm pretty sure last year he went in with the starters, and then after the first sub, he was like, "Take me out, don't put me back in."
Yeah, yeah. So he doesn't really shine in that type of pickup game environment, but definitely feel like he's probably going to be a starter. But I really believe Wemby should be starting. I don't know if he will, but I just feel like he's definitely taken a leap, like I mentioned, and I don't know. He should be out there with the starting 5.
So, Justin, you don't think Curry should be starting?
No.
You like Anthony Edwards over him?
I mean, Anthony Edwards currently is my favorite player in the league. So, yeah.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, he's I feel like he's having a fine season himself. It's just the Timberwolves had really high expectations, and they're, I think, exactly 500 right now.
He just put up 53 in a loss. They lost after he put up 53. Anthony
right.
Edwards.
So I don't know. Like he's definitely having an all-star, all NBA level season, but I don't know if we'll see. I just feel like definitely the game being in San Francisco is going to help Curry a lot.
Yeah.
And I think SGA is a lock already. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, how that, obviously we still got a couple more fan voting returns to get before they announce the actual starting fives, but it's going to be interesting. And they also switched up how the All-Star game is going to be this year. They're still going to vote in, I believe, 24 players, but they're going to split them up into 3 separate teams of 8. So I'm curious to see, I'm sure they'll still announce, who would have been starting, but obviously all these players are going to be on different teams. So we'll see how that all plays out as well. But, yeah, we'll be on the lookout for more All-Star voting stuff. And the game should be fun this year, hopefully. But one last bit of news before we get out of here. Derrick Rose is getting his jersey retired with the Chicago Bulls. It's going up in the rafters. He played 8 seasons with Chicago. He became the youngest MVP. Derrick Rose, I believe he announced his retirement this season. We talked about Derrick Rose already on the pod. If you want to listen to that conversation, just go back. I don't remember what episode it was, but just look for that title. So we kind of already had the Derrick Rose, what we think of his career conversation. So I want to ask a little bit of a different question. So often we think of what Derrick Rose could have been had he not gotten hurt, right? A lot of people think he was on a all-time trajectory. Like I mentioned, the youngest MVP ever. So my question is, Derrick Rose the biggest quote-unquote what-if player in NBA history? And if you don't think he is, who would you say is that player?
I want to hear what Toby's got to say. Toby's probably going to have a crazy take right here.
Nah, not really. I think he definitely is the most what if player. I mean, he won that youngest MVP of all time. So if he stays healthy for the majority of his career, he, might steal a ring or two somewhere. God knows how good he could have been. He was so good. But I threw in a couple of other what ifs that I just wanted to shout out. The first one was Grant Hill, who I talk about a decent amount, but this guy was 6'8". He had comparisons to Michael Jordan when he was entering the league, probably because Jordan was just retiring. So they were like, who's going to be the next guy? And I think Grant Hill would have been the next guy. This guy, he was 6'8". He was athletic. He could shoot. He could pass. And then I think it was a broken ankle he got, or he messed up his ankle and he maybe tried to play through it or something like that. And then he just never really was the same. I mean, he had a long career, which, you could probably credit that towards his athleticism. But I feel like if he would have stayed healthy, he would have been great. I also had Lem Bias up there.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of feel like a lot of people sometimes forget about him. Obviously, we didn't get a chance to watch to see what he could do in the NBA, but just what the other players back in the day were saying about him, he could have been one of the best players in the league in the Michael Jordan era. He was also 6'8". I think in college he averaged about 23 and 7 in his senior year at Maryland. So, he could have came in the league on the Celtics. He would have been a force. And then who knows what the 90 Celtics would have looked like if, had he stayed alive, and that probably would have changed the entire trajectory of the NBA. So those two I just wanted to shout out real quick. But I do think, without a doubt, I think Derrick Rose is the biggest what if. It's a shame.
Yeah, I agree that he's definitely the biggest what if player in the NBA. And I'm not too informed on basketball. I'm not too informed on baseball or like soccer or hockey, but I would say he might even be the biggest what if player of all time in any sport. I don't really know nothing about baseball. Baseball's been going on for like 300 years. So like they could have had Jesus Christ out on the field. Nobody would have known. But yeah, D Rose, everybody knows about D Rose. Like everybody who knows anything about basketball knows about D Rose, knows he was on some of the greatest trajectory any player's ever been on. It's unbelievable that record wasn't broken already. Like, you really got to be crazy to win the MVP at what, 21 years old was he? 21, 22?
Yeah, I think 21.
So yeah, guy was just able to go buy himself a beer. Guy's winning MVPs. But yeah, I got a couple guys on the list who didn't really have like one injury that changed their career. It was just kind of like a pileup of minor injuries keeping them from playing at 100%. Grant Hill I had on there. T-Mac, T-Mac, he was great for a long time. He was really good, but yeah, I feel like the prime could have lasted a lot longer. He was just dealing with, small injuries. And then Brandon Roy, Kobe himself said that, Brandon Roy was one of the most talented players that he's ever seen. And I don't even know like what he was dealing with. It could have been one big injury that ruined this guy's career. I don't really know. He was just kind of a little bit before my time getting into, NBA basketball and all that stuff. Don't really know nothing about him. But I was telling Jorie about this before the show started. This isn't really a what if because he ended up being almost winning an MVP after this injury, but what if Paul George never snapped his leg in the USA basketball? Like, what if, that was one of the most gruesome injuries I've ever seen. And he came back and almost won an MVP, but like, this was just after you playing LeBron in the playoffs, like finally like making himself a, household name almost in the NBA community. And then guy gets wrecked. So, if he could have just stayed in that level of being great, who knows, man? Maybe Paul George have a ring, maybe an MVP. You never know.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Paul George.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Because I just feel like he's still, like you said, like he still had like a really solid career and is still having a really solid career. But you never know. That definitely, obviously took away parts of his prime. So you never know what he could have achieved in those years. Yeah, that's interesting. But I got one player here, and this is again, I think similar to what you said, Justin, because I feel like this guy was still really good for a good portion of his career, but I think he could have had been in a different conversation all time if he really never suffered these injuries. DeMarcus Cousins.
Why did I have a feeling you were going to say
Boogie Cousins? Because, like I said, in Sacramento, he didn't really deal with any major injuries, I guess. Like, he was on average playing about 70 games a season. So, like, he was out there. He was available. The Kings, they just weren't really a great team, as a whole. They were in the midst of a long playoff drought. And, he never even reached the playoffs with that organization. So, like, I don't think we ever really viewed DeMarcus in that light of like the best center in the league just because of that. But then in 2017, he got traded to New Orleans. And I can remember thinking like, this literally might be the best like power forward center combo we've ever seen. Like Anthony Davis at that point of his career, I think their first like full season together, he was top 3 in MVP voting. So like Anthony Davis was like at the top of the league, one of the best players in the league, kind of like how we view Giannis right now. And then you add DeMarcus Cousins, who was, I'm pretty sure, coming off 2 All-NBA second team appearances, like back to back. So like he was, again, one of the best centers in the NBA. And they're still pretty young. I think Anthony Davis was 24 years old. Boogie was about 27. So this is I think a duo you guys could like build around for a long time, I think. But in his first full season with the team, he ruptured his Achilles. And this is kind of where it all went downhill. Like, and that team, that Pelicans team was so interesting. They also had Drew Holiday, who obviously went on to be a very valuable player for the Bucks and the Celtics. So I felt like they had such a solid core with those three, and it's a shame that we never really got to see it through. That was that season without DeMarcus. They went on to win a playoff series against the Blazers. That was the only playoff series AD won with the Pelicans before getting traded to the Lakers. But so like I said, he ruptures his Achilles, Boogie does, and then in 2018 he signs with Golden State. And I think a lot of people probably remember that because that was the, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Clay, Warriors, and they add Boogie Cousins, and they're like, oh, geez. If he gets healthy, this is going to be the most ridiculous lineup the NBA has ever seen. And then in the playoffs, in his first season, I believe, with the Warriors, he ruptured his quad, I think, or tore his quad, and ended up missing I believe the rest of the playoffs, or maybe he came back at some point, but they didn't win the finals that year. That was the year Toronto won. So he didn't even win a ring with that team. And then he missed the bubble season. He didn't play that season, but he was on the Lakers roster. But before the season, he tore his ACL in like a off-season workout, and it was just, again, like I said, just so many things were going against Boogie. And then at that point, he kind of just started bouncing around the league. I think he was on the Bucks, like the Clippers. He was on the Nuggets for a little bit. So again, I just feel like Boogie could have been like because he had 2 opportunities at least with the Pelicans and the Warriors, I think, to be on like high level competitive teams with great players. And if he had just stayed healthy, I think who knows what could have happened. They could have been a great team. He could have had some rings to his name. I think we could be talking about DeMarcus Cousins a completely different way.
Dude,
It's a good pick. I didn't think about him.
yeah, that is a great pick. He was one of my favorite players when he was with the Kings. Just like that was like at the beginning of his career before he was like, I don't know. I don't want to say like PR trained, but like he was out there like
He was raw.
screaming at people. He was like bumping chests, like flexing on kids. Like he was just a dog. He was just a dirty dog. And then when I got that notification that he signed with the Warriors, bro, I was raging. I was looking at my phone. This ain't fair. Nobody can win nothing. Warriors are never gonna lose. And then, yeah, like you said, Jorie, just injuries kept. He just once he was finally like getting back into it, another injury. Come back, finally get into it, another injury. So, yeah, that's a good pick, Jorie. DeMarcus Cousins, what a guy.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think in particular, like the Warriors, I can understand him not like being the superstar because he's also playing next to Steph, Draymond, Clay. But like him and AD, I felt like could have been such a crazy duo. Like I just feel like because he was still very good before he got hurt.
Yeah.
I think he was named to the All-Star game like that season. He got hurt like after he was named to the All-Star team. So I don't know what could have been, but that's just how it goes. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
But yeah. Like I said, I didn't want to. I feel bad using Derrick Rose as like the let's talk about all the what if guys, but I figured we'd have a little bit of a different conversation. But shout out Derrick Rose, getting his jersey retired up there with I don't even know whose jerseys are retired. Obviously MJ. I'm assuming probably Scottie Pippen, but
yeah, I don't know. I don't know who's up there.
But
Yeah.
shout out Derrick Rose.
Hoffer,
Yeah.
for sure. And just what a guy. Derrick Rose, second favorite player of all time. Second greatest player in NBA history behind Carmelo Anthony.
It's
Right
Not
up there
behind
with Monte Ellis and Amari Stoudemire, some of the greats.
some of the greats. Chicago jersey retirements: Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Jerry Sloan, and Bob Love.
What up, Bob?
So Derrick Rose will be the 5th. So shout out Derrick Rose. Again, if you want to hear the whole like career conversation we had about Derrick Rose, just go back a little bit. It's in one of these episodes. So
Here, you know what? Stay put. I'll tell you exactly what episode it is. Episode 8. Episode 8. It was uploaded September 27th. And it's just me and Jorie in that episode. No Toby. I don't know what he was doing.
there you go. Well,
Dang, really? We've already done 12 episodes since then. 13 episodes.
trucking along.
Also, real quick. So Jorie handles the YouTube. I handle our Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram post, one of our about what was it? MVP candidates. First Instagram video to hit 1,000 views. We actually hit 1,600 views. So thank you very much. Let's keep
Nice.
those numbers going.
Yeah,
I
we
want to
we
see
appreciate the
1,600
support.
every video from now on.
We appreciate the support. Yeah, because these guys, they know what they're talking about. So, we appreciate that you like our takes. Toby's shaking his head.
We have
But,
great takes. I mean, we got great takes around here.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll have some more from this episode. And yeah, but until next time, we'll be seeing you.